Welcome in. It is day 3 of our summer series. Today, we got Alabama, Oklahoma, Mississippi State. Check us out. This is Stadium Rant.
When you get to the point where you do the work consistently, you invest in yourself consistently, you make sacrifices consistently when everybody else is slacking off, when everybody's partying, when everybody's making excuses, you will dominate every single person you're up against, and your limits become non-existent.
All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brent with College SportsCast. We are here to do day 3 of our summer series. We're here for day 3 of the SEC tournament. Before we get started, I am going to run through a little bit on Facebook. If you're on Facebook with us.
Did you just say the SEC tournament?
Did I? SEC Media Days? I may have. I don't know.
You said the SEC tournament, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. SEC Football Media Days. I may have. I misspeak every once in a while. Yeah. All right. So if you're on Facebook with us, we appreciate you. Been trying to grow that. You can help support us by sending stars, or you can subscribe for 99 cents a month. If you subscribe for 99 cents a month, you do get your own page as well as your own chat, subscribers page and chat. Also on Facebook, we would appreciate it if you would like and follow. Like and follow our page. If you see this, go to our page and if you are on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. And this is where I had trouble last night. Am I going off? Interesting. Okay, I think I'm back. I don't know, man. Every time I click those up there for like and subscribe, it's something new. I haven't used that stuff before. I thought I would try it, but every time I did it last night and I did it tonight, and both times it caused trouble. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
You happy? Okay. I don't know. That's something new. Is something brand new. Maybe they ain't got the bugs worked out of it or something. I don't know. Every time I try to click that, it causes an issue. All right, John. You did have one thing you wanted to run through real quick. I'll let you get to that.
So this past week, we had a pillar in the community pass away. Anthony Lyford. He was the owner of the Oven Mitt. It was a local restaurant. They fed you fish. It's basically just like a home style food type place. And, I always kind of wanted to bring this up and, honor him because he always asked me all the time. He said, how's your show doing? How's this going? He was always interested. Really good person. Great to the people in the community. It's just a tragic loss. There's just a lot to go through. And it's been tough for the family and everybody involved. And I just wanted to honor him tonight and say that my prayers are with the family and those that are connected to him in general. It's been a rough week, but through that, God will be there for them, and prayers can get you through that and whatnot. So I just kind of wanted to shout him out. He was a really great person, great cook, could fix about anything. One of the best chefs around. Could make a mean catfish. I'm telling you, his catfish was probably one of the best that I've ever put in my mouth. So he was a great
we definitely
guy.
Want to.
I kind of wanted to just kind of bring
have
that
our
up.
Prayers out to the family for them, as here from College SportsCast. Stadium ran as well.
Yeah.
But from there, guys, we are going to kick it off. The opening act today basically was Alabama and Kalen Deboer. And Kalen didn't shy away from expectations at Alabama. I thought Kalen done pretty good today at the mic because they went 9-4 last year. They did miss the playoffs by one or two, basically somewhere in that range. And they missed the 12-team playoff, not a 4-team playoff. So they were a little further down the totem pole than Alabama fans are used to in that first year after Saban. John, how did you think Kalen Deboer handled himself today?
I mean, I feel like he's handling the disrespect. There's a lot of disrespect towards Alabama. Like, everybody's probably thinking, they're not going to be great. They're going to have a down season, losing their quarterback with Jalen Milroe. But they do return 15 starters from last year that just missed the playoffs. So keep in mind, and also you got to remember Deboer had to replace probably one of the greatest coaches of all time, and Nick Saban, and that's not easy to slide in and do.
And on top of that, you have the Alabama fan expectations, and that's kind of where I was leading with this. I mean, most programs would be tickled to death with a 9-4 season and finishing like 13th or 14th. But Alabama acts like Kalen DeBoer did absolutely horrible last year. And I thought he handled that well. He got to the mic today, was asked a question about it, how he thought they did last year. And he basically owned up to it. And he said, we didn't meet expectations. We didn't make the college football playoff. We fell short of that. And I thought he handled it pretty well today, to be honest.
He did.
There's a lot of pressure, John. There's a lot of pressure being the Alabama football coach.
It is. And when you don't win in Alabama, things get a little rocky. You've seen what happened to Bill Curry. He couldn't beat Auburn, and he was out the door. I mean, you better win at Alabama. There's a winning standard there, and you better win.
I actually think 9-4 over the last 40 years or so is actually the best first season record by an Alabama football coach. of course, he inherited Nick Saban's roster. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that. I get that. But, 9-4 is not a terrible season. Sometimes you want to look at Alabama fans and say, chill out just a little bit, just a little. I'm not saying a lot, just a little. I know you're Alabama. I know there's some expectations. But they were close. Yes. The one thing that happened last year, John, that I think upset the Alabama fans the absolute most was the loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah. I mean, out of everything that happened last year, that loss to Vanderbilt by Alabama is the one that kills Deboer the most. So he does have to lift things up. I mean, Alabama is definitely not used to losing to a school like Vanderbilt.
No, that's very rare for them. And
what's up?
And I think we kind of mentioned it a little bit last night, Brad, that bringing in Ryan Grubb was the biggest acquisition probably of that pairing that they had at Washington. They had one of the nation's best quarterbacks. Their expectations was really high that year. They went to the national championship game. And then we're kind of going to go up to the quarterback battle here, which we'll talk about here soon, with Ty Simpson.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna go next. So our next topic here on Alabama is about Ty Simpson, and I put most likely because Kalen did not fully commit to Ty Simpson being the absolute starter. He did say if it was right now, if they had to suit up right now, Ty Simpson would get the nod. John, I have to fully believe here that Ty Simpson, I mean, he's been in the program, 4 years or 3 or 4 years?
He's probably got the experience. He had the track to have the starting job, I think, in the spring. You got to remember too, Brad, that he's probably got one of the nation's best wide receivers in his backfield, and Ryan Williams. And then they got Caden Proctor, the left tackle, Parker Brailsford. They return a form up front. Their offense is going to be really good. And you add Ryan.
They may have one of the better offensive lines in the country.
Yeah, and you add Ryan Grubb into that mix, and you bring him from Washington. I think you're going to have a deadly combo at the offensive coordinator, head coach position.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question about Ty Simpson. So Ty Simpson was pretty heralded coming out. Everybody in Alabama was kind of in love with him. This was 2 years ago when Jalen took the reins. There was a quarterback competition with Milroe, and a lot of people thought Ty Simpson was going to win that 2 years ago, to be quite honest with you.
And to be quite honest, there was a couple games where Milroe did not play good, and they inserted Ty Simpson, and he did not.
And they inserted Ty Simpson. Yeah, he even started a game, at least one game, maybe two.
Was it South Florida? Maybe the rain game. South Florida. It might have been. I didn't think he looked that great, but it's kind of hard to tell when you just throw a guy in there right on the fly. He's not had a lot of time to kind of prepare, but like I said, adding Ryan Grubb to this mix with the offensive coordinator position, I think pairing him with Deboer in the offense, I think they're going to get back to what they do best. You got to remember they had Michael Penix Jr., which he's with Atlanta now. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the country that year. So if anybody can handle a quarterback spot and coach them up, I think Kalen Deboer can. He's had that prestige to do that at Washington, and I think he can do it at Alabama.
I agree with you. So I'm in a chat, a Stadium Rant chat, to be honest with you, and somebody was asking me about Ty Simpson, and I made a joke. I said Alabama's had him in the witness protection program for the last 4 years down there. And said, I told everybody, I said he had to like have a new name. He's not even Ty Simpson anymore. He's in the witness protection program down in Alabama somewhere. Like he has really been hidden down there, to be quite honest with you. I would be absolutely shocked if he doesn't get the reins here to take this over at least the first 3 games or so this season and see how he does. Mm-hmm. You know, it is Alabama. They do have talent behind him. So we'll see exactly how that goes. The next topic, man, you've already hit all my topics basically on both of them, or pretty much the rest of them, really. But, you know, you've got to talk about Ryan Williams when you talk about Alabama. He was the sensational freshman last year. Yes, he was 17. Hey, wait, guys, he's now 18. I mean, but this guy, this kid was super special, especially early the first half of the season. He was really special.
If anybody goes back to kind of rewatch, go rewatch the Georgia game, and the catch that he made. I mean, you got to watch it to even realize how special this guy really is. Like, he's a playmaker on the field, off the field. He does well for the community. Alabama really loves this kid. I think he's going to have another special year this year with Deboer. You know, there's a lot
I got a question for you. Could Ryan Williams make a case to go to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony? I'm not saying he wins it, because nobody gives wide receivers much credit in anybody but a quarterback.
Not anymore, but I think there's a shot there. There's just so many players that are going to be in that Heisman running this year, Brad. You know,
but it's wide open. The Heisman is wide open this year.
You look down the line, you got Arch Manning. I'm trying to think.
Well, I mean, but Arch has only started 2 games. I mean, you really don't know where that Heisman's going to come from.
The big kid from Iowa State, the quarterback.
Jeremiah Smith, another sophomore.
I mean, you got a lot of guys that are going to be really good this year.
But I think Ryan Williams is in that conversation preseason as an 18-year-old sophomore. That's how special he is.
I think he's in the conversation for sure. Yeah.
That's how special he is. Talking about Ty Simpson, he will have somebody with the kind of talent of Ryan Williams to throw to. That is always a huge plus, especially when you have the type of speed and the catch radius that Ryan Williams has. I mean, on those go routes last year, he was money.
Well, and then you kind of break down the Alabama defense too. You know, they had some early, what do you say, speed bumps?
Yeah.
Had some speed bumps, and they kind of transitioned to their new offensive or defensive coordinator, Kane Womack. This unit got better as the season progressed last year.
Definitely.
You know, there was games early in the year where they really struggled to stay off the field, but later in the year they finished like, I think, 17.4 points per game they give up.
I mean, they were killing Georgia, and somehow just second half let Georgia right back in.
Yeah, it seemed like they just could not get a stop. Also give 7 returning starters. That's optimism for that group. There's Keon Sabb back. They're real good safety. Domaney Jackson. Deontay Lawson is probably one of the best defensive players in the country. Let's let's just call it what it is. He's all over the field. He can make plays. This defense is going to be really good again. And I've heard all day disrespect for Alabama, but I really don't think they're getting disrespected. I just think that there's a lot of question marks, especially at quarterback. And if their quarterback kind of fills out, I think they'll be pretty good. It's just, there's question marks.
Speaking of quarterback, I said you kind of hit my topics. Bringing back Ryan Grubb for Kalen Deboer. And I say bringing him back because he was supposed to join Alabama last year when Deboer took the job, and he backed out and stayed in Washington. Late. He backed out and stayed in Washington. I think he kind of regretted that, contacted him. They got back together. And I say got back together because I think this is the third or fourth stop that Ryan Grubb and Kalen Deboer have been together. And if you go back and look at each stop, they have been phenomenal. I mean, offensive, they have been number one, number two in the nation. They have had one of the best quarterbacks everywhere they've been. I'm not saying Ty Simpson's going to do that this year. It may be the second year that we see that, but we will definitely see an improvement on this Alabama offense with Ryan Grubb.
This is just my early take on it. I think we're a year away from them being a serious national title contender. I think there's one more year that they're, they got the Russell kid at quarterback. He's dynamic. He's probably going to slide in probably next year or maybe even this year if things don't work out with Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
So, well, and you can't forget about Mac either. He's in that mix. So, interesting case Alabama is, especially bringing back Ryan Grubb and having the.
I just think for Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb is absolutely a huge key piece for his offense.
I think it's a huge piece.
Yeah. All right, John, here it is. This is what Alabama fans all want to know. This is what Alabama fans, all they care about. I mean, this is really all they care about. Will Alabama make the college football playoff? Will they be inside that 12 teams?
That's a good question, Brad.
I mean, today at SEC Media Days, John, that was the theme the entire morning when Alabama was up, was meeting those expectations. I mean, that was the theme basically all day this morning.
They got the game against Georgia on the road, which is going to be tough. And they do go on the road right out of the gate to Florida State, which won't be an easy game. Florida State will be. I wouldn't say they're going to be as good as it was. Last year was atrocious. It was not great. But I mean, I think there's a chance. I think there's 2 losses on that schedule possibly. 2 losses probably get you into the college football playoff.
I think 2 losses gets Alabama in for sure.
Yeah, I think it gets them in. I think they get in. Now, does that say I think they'll win? Probably not. I just right
3
now,
losses, maybe not, but 2 losses, I think Alabama gets in. And I have not looked at their entire schedule, so it's really hard for me to judge one way or another. But when I look at the defensive players that this team has, the fact that Ryan Grubb has come back, Ryan Williams on the outside, there's a lot of good pieces here, I think, with Alabama. The real question is Ty Simpson.
Yeah, it's the quarterback play.
Yeah.
How does it kind of
the real question
out?
Is the quarterback play. and who gets slid in there, who gets the first nod, how do they do? Do they get benched? Which one replaces them? Because it could be either of the backups. So as far as quarterback, there is a lot of question marks. I think the rest of it is pretty much set at Alabama.
I think defense set, running back room's pretty set. Especially at wide receiver, you got Ryan Williams. You're not taking him off the field. So
no, I mean, everything else is pretty much set. So the real question mark is the quarterback play. And we all know that quarterback play is a very important piece, especially when you're trying to make the college football playoffs.
Yep, crucial.
Yeah. All right. We are going to move on from Alabama, and we are going to go to Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby. He's only in his second year at Mississippi State, so I want to get that off first and foremost. They did have a rough year last year, a rough year. I do not think – did they win any SEC games or did they win one?
They went 0-8.
That's what I thought.
No, wait a minute. I think it was
they might have snuck one.
Yeah, they finished winless last year.
Yeah, 0-8.
They went 2-10, yeah.
Yeah, they were 2-10, yeah. And it was in his first year. He is completely revamping the roster. I do have more on that in just a few minutes. But I thought Lebby handled himself pretty well today. I thought he spoke well. I thought he envisions a plan for this roster, for this team, for this university. He's known as an offensive guy, but he talked about that physicality on defense and what Mississippi State has kind of always been known for.
I think the biggest issue, though, Brad, is, there was so much of a major roster overhaul, and they had a shift in the scheme. When Coach Leach died, there's just a lot happened in that whole time. And I think the program is in good shape going into 25, but I think their schedule is what's going to be the downfall. It's tough. It's just really tough.
It is. And let's get to – I'm not going to spend a ton of time. Mississippi State is one of the down teams probably in the SEC. But let's get to Blake Shapen.
Yeah,
I want to ask you about Blake Shapen. He's the second-year starting quarterback now. He is a sophomore, true sophomore.
Well, and you got to remember he missed most of 24 with an injury.
He did. He missed quite a bit of it.
And then they kind of brought in a really good running back, Fluff both well from South Alabama. I think the offensive line needs to show some major improvement. Last year was really, really bad. They allowed 38.9 points a game and 7.1 yards per snap. That is not going to win a lot of games at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. They did not play great last year. Defensively was terrible. They got ran out most games, to be quite honest with you. Mm-hmm. But I do want to ask you about Blake Shapen. What do you think? What do you think about Blake and his play, his future? Do you think he'll be a good one?
I think he will be. I think it's just going to, take him time. Lebby's going to have to be given time. Mississippi State fans kind of got a little restless with him last year. And I understand that from that point of view, but you got to give the guy time. If they're better across the way on defense, I think they can steal a game or two in SEC play. But there's still going to be some major issues still with this team because you've not really got a full Lebby team. There's still guys from the past.
No. You're just in the second year. I mean, that's for sure.
You're going to hit some.
I think the biggest issue with Blake here is his health. Can he stay healthy? Because last year he was in and out of the lineup. He would come back. He tried to play. He would get hurt again. He was in and out of the lineup. And for this team to make any strides at all, I think Blake Shapen has really got to fill that role and be the leader.
I think he's got to be a leader, especially,
Yeah.
Considering he was injured all of last year. I mean, how he responds to that injury, how he comes back from it, that's major questions.
I agree. So this is something that Jeff Lebby said today while he was speaking at the mic today.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was crazy to think about. 80% of their roster is in first or second year players in the program.
That's a number right there.
80%. I mean, John, they have 60 new players this year from the transfer portal, spring transfer portal, and the freshman class. They have 60 new players on the roster this year.
So that's what I said. There's a major roster overhaul, and and it's there's it's going to be more of the same probably from last year setup. Now I will say they might have 2 or 3, maybe 4 more wins than they had a year ago, but Mississippi State fans are going to have to be patient with it. It's just going to take Lebby time to kind of slide in there and get it back to going and start.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The second year here is going to be
real
some kind of improvement.
They need to see a little bit.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, John. If they don't see some real improvement by next year, everybody says you got to give them time. 3 years is giving somebody time in today's landscape.
Yeah, it is. We see it all the time with coaches. After about 3 or 4 years, you don't see improvements. It's pretty much bye-bye. They're out the door. So
I just thought I would throw that in there, 80%. That's a huge
now I will say,
number.
to be fair, Norvell, a lot of them wanted him out after, what was it, the first or second year, but he kind of had that one good season where they went to the they got, was it one game close to the playoff?
Yeah, they were undefeated until the championship, the ACC championship.
Yeah, and Jordan Travis got hurt, and that kind of that sealed the fate. So,
all right, so they are hitting the transfer portal hard, and they absolutely are. They even hit the spring portal hard. I mean, they brought in 5 offensive linemen and a bunch of other players out of the spring portal. Like I said, they have 60 new players. Some of these guys do have some talent. It's going to be interesting. Some of these guys have played at other places. It's just that they're new at Mississippi State in this program with Jeff Lebby. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that works when you bring in that many new players.
Yeah, it's an interesting case, to be honest, and how they kind of all mesh in together.
I agree. All right, last subject with Mississippi State, making strides. John, what will that look like for Mississippi State?
As much as I hate to say it, it's probably 4 or 5 wins. I mean, with what they did a year ago. I mean, you got to.
They were 2-10, so if they can get to 4 and 5 wins, that's probably making strides.
And maybe steal a game in the SEC. I mean, you on the road, maybe.
I'm going to be honest with you. You talk about making strides, to be honest with you. They went 0-8 in the SEC last year. If you're going to make some strides, you at least got to get a win. You got to get 1 or 2 wins in the SEC.
1 or 2 wins in the SEC. Yeah, I think that's pretty much their goal at this point to kind of improve on a disastrous year last year.
If they can sneak 1 or 2 wins in the SEC and then win their out of conference games, they have a big game, second game of the year against Arizona State.
Yeah, I mean they play Arizona State.
Yep.
They play Northern Illinois, which is not an easy game. Like Northern Illinois has been notorious
they're a good FCS program,
giving teams fits. So, and then they play Southern Miss on the road. So, them games ain't easy, especially early.
Yeah. Yes. So, you've got to win some of those games. If you can find a way to go 3-1 and sneak 1 or 2 SEC games, you might get to that 5-win mark. And I think 5 wins would be a pretty good stride.
Yeah, that's where I've had them at, 4 or 5 wins. I think that's an improvement.
Yeah, I do as well. Like I think that would show the state fans enough improvement that he would get a year 3.
And then hopefully in years 3 you can probably hit the bowl game, kind of go lofty go. So
right. Yep, absolutely. All right. The next team to go to the mic at SEC Media Days today was Florida's Billy Napier. And John, in years past, this is year 4 for Billy Napier at Florida. And in years past, I really didn't feel like at SEC Media Days that Billy Napier seemed comfortable in front of the mic, in front of all that media. But today, I thought he looked really comfortable in front of the mic, in front of the media. And it's really the first time I remember watching him. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. And he was kind of stuttering through some answers. And he just has never really seemed comfortable at SEC Media Days with all that media and fanfare and everything that's going on there. But I thought he looked pretty strong today. Of course, he is coming off finishing 4 straight wins, and kind of turned the season around last year. I don't know if you caught any of it today, but what's your opinion on Billy Napier's confidence, I guess?
Well, you got to remember, they was likely to fall short last year of getting a bowl. They was looking at a coaching change like right in the middle of the season. And by December, they had beaten Ole Miss and LSU, and they had got to a bowl game. It goes from hot seat to he's back, and they got a tough schedule that's on tap. But he has the pieces in place, Brad, to make a run. He's got DJ Lagway at quarterback, Jaden Ball, the running back. They got a deep stable of running backs. And then they got Eugene Wilson. He missed a lot of 24. Dyke and Badger leave. But I think he's got enough pieces to win at Florida this upcoming season. And I think he's off the hot seat for now. But I think, like you said, if me and you talked about it the other day, if he has another moment where, in the middle of the year that they're not doing too hot, I think you got to consider him to kind of be on the outs and be on the hot seat again.
The Billy Napier story right here for this year is one of those wacky, weird ones, because if things go right, he could be one of the hottest coaches in the nation. Okay.
Yeah.
If things don't go right and they go badly wrong, he could be on the hot seat.
real quick. Yeah.
They're 19-19. He is 19-19 after 3 years at Florida, guys. The Florida Gators, the mighty Gators. He's 19-19 after 3 years.
My biggest issue is the schedule, Brad. You know, they have one of the toughest schedules in the country.
That is one of our topics that we are going to get to is their schedule. We are going to get to that. But here's my deal, John. The Napier issue is I just think it's one to really keep your eye on this year, because I think it could go either way. And part of the reason why it could go either way is DJ Lagway, who is the Florida quarterback. He is a freshman. He is another kid that dealt with some injuries last year. He did go 6-1 when he was in there as a starter, but he was in and out of the lineup in games sometimes. And he has been not healthy this entire offseason. He wasn't healthy in the spring. So where is DJ Lagway's health? Can he stay healthy, John?
Yeah, can he stay healthy? And he's got probably one of the better offensive lines coming back. And he's got plenty of support at the skill positions. He's got Jaden Baugh, Eugene Wilson. He's a superstar. He's really, really good. But the biggest concern is his shoulder. Like, what's it going to really be like when he starts out the year? You got, like I said, you got road games at Miami. You got, I think who else they play on the road? Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss. Yep. Now they do host Tennessee and Texas, but they face Florida and Jacksonville. So it's going to be interesting to see how they, kind of navigate this schedule and his injury prognosis. Like, how does his shoulder react?
And does he re-aggravate it all the time? Is he in and out of the lineup?
And the thing is, his development, I think, will probably shape how this season will turn out. I think if the season
everybody over the 3 days of the SEC media days leading up to DJ Lagway being there today has been talking about quarterbacks in the SEC, and everybody's given Lagway he could be first, he could be second, he could be third as far as quarterbacks in the SEC. And if he's fully healthy and can stay on the field, I think that's possible. But, John, he actually could fall out of the top 10 just simply because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, you put that pressure on the defense, which they had struggles a little bit last year, but they improved late in the year. I think they held their 4 opponents to 13 points per game. And you add the fact that they could play 7 preseason top 25 teams.
Yep.
Like, that's a lot of pressure. And then you lose Lagway, and you have to go
Even
back.
If you lose Lagway for 3 or 4 games here and there, and he's back and forth, like that could be a big loss.
It could, yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a big loss for this team. And to go back to my first point with Billy Napier, if Lagway does go down and they struggle early in the year, Napier might get the boot. I mean, it is possible. But here's my deal. We're gonna go into some other stuff here, because this team is talented.
They are.
And if Lagway can stay healthy, I believe, John, that they can build off their remarkable midseason turnaround last year. And this is a team that could surprise a lot of people.
They could. And the thing is, they bring back, they bring back Caleb Banks. I think they bring back Sapp, Grayson Howard. Now, I will say that they're having some turnover in the secondary. which last year was a struggle for them at times. Where that kind of bends into where they fit, that's another question. But there's pieces here for Florida to make some noise and compete in the SEC. And quite frankly, a lot of people are putting them, as a sleeper pick for the college football playoff. But here's my question. Here's my problem with that is their schedule.
And that's the last topic we're going to talk about with Florida is their schedule. But I want to ask you about their midseason kind of turnaround last year. And I'll be honest with you, John. I think it started in the Kentucky game.
It did. And it kind of just mulled over to big wins over Ole Miss and LSU. The Ole Miss game was probably one of the better games I've seen Florida play.
Yeah.
And that's against a really good team.
They won against a tough Tulane team in the bowl on top of that.
They played really good against Tulane. So this was a really good, remarkable turnaround for the Gators.
When you go back to the midway or about the midway point of last season, there was talk of Billy Napier being fired.
Yeah, he was like out the door.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they start clicking a little bit and they start finding something. They finish the season like 6-1 or something like that. And I know they won their last 4. I do know that for sure. And kind of turned their
they finished 8-5.
Well, I mean that was their record overall was 8-5. Yeah. And they finished the season strong, and I do believe that they have a lot of talent on this team. A lot of those players are back. I think they had around a half a dozen NFL draft picks, which is not the top of the line for the SEC teams, but they did have 5 or 6 NFL draft picks, I believe. But, John, I also want to ask you about their talented freshman class.
Mm-hmm.
They have a couple of wide receivers that I'm hearing out of that freshman class that could be special, and it's 2 of them. They brought in, I think, a top 10 freshman class, and that's kind of what Billy has been doing here. He's doing things kind of old school. He's relying on good refreshment classes and retention, whereas a lot of these people are bringing in 20, 30, 40 transfers. Billy really hasn't been doing that. He's been relying on freshman classes.
Yeah, they bring back Eugene Wilson. They get Vernell Brown. They bring in, I think, Nashawn Montgomery, TJ Abrams. He's a redshirt freshman. So they got some skill players out there on the outside that DJ Latway can make plays with. And, even the running back room, they got Jaden Ball, Jacoby Jackson, and even Webb. Trayshawn Webb returns. He's a redshirt sophomore. So they got some pieces to make some noise in the backfield on offense.
They do. And like I said, he really has been kind of doing this the old school way with the freshman recruiting classes for the most part.
Well, Clemson pretty much does the same exact thing.
Yep. Yeah, they do. It's kind of impressive because in this day and age, it seems like everybody is kind of flip-flop and everybody's trying to get most of their pieces out of the transfer portal. And Billy's been stubborn about it. And he's like, I want the best talent out of high school. And he has been one of the coaches that has stayed steadfast with that. And right now, he is teetering on that it's working. But like I said, he could just as easily fall off, or he could look like a genius if they take a leap here in year 4.
And we pretty much talked about their schedule, so
Yeah, so the schedule is the last topic. We can sit and talk about it, But everybody that I've seen has Florida listed with the toughest schedule preseason in the land, in the country. And they had the toughest schedule last year preseason.
This is the biggest issue, though, Brad. They play at Miami, LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss. I mean, how hard, and they also play just 2 home games during an 8-game stretch.
That's insane. How do you play 2 home games in 8 out of 8 games?
That's and then they kind of smidge that between, a Kentucky game that, looks winnable on paper.
Yeah.
But it's not always a guarantee, especially
it's at Kroger Field.
It's in Kroger Field, and Kentucky and Florida's kind of split back and forth the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Kentucky winning, I think, 3 at one point, and then Florida.
And then you got the Florida-Georgia game that's in Jacksonville. It's not at home.
I think the Miami game is crucial early in the year on the road. If you
Miami
lose that
is one of the teams out of the ACC that could be good.
The schedule is just brutally difficult, Brad.
It is. And, of course, that was talked about to the ends today, and he was asked about it several times. And I think he's just getting tired of being asked about it, because this is the second year in a row that he has had the toughest schedule in the country.
And today I read something where somebody said, well, the SEC, somebody had made there was like a graphic of the SEC and their schedule and how tough it was, the ESPN FBI or something like that.
Yeah.
And somebody put on there, said they're showing their bias again with the SEC. But the problem is the SEC is tough.
Like I said, man, okay, I don't care who you are. If you are Clemson, would you trade your schedule for Florida's schedule?
Probably not. Because you're playing Duke.
If
you're playing –
listen, I'm not even – let's say we don't even give you an option. Let's say you wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden you look at your schedule and yours and Florida's schedule in Clemson has been flopped. And Clemson fans would be crying like a baby if they woke up and had Florida's schedule.
Yeah.
That's just like you've got to take in consideration how many ACC Big 12 teams would be like, yes, we will take Kentucky's schedule.
And you probably win, what, 4 or 5 of those games?
Come on now. Be honest with me. All right, John, we are going to get to the last one of the day.
And
Brent
this
Venables
one is one that this is a make or break time for Brent Venables.
It is. Brent Venables come to the stage today for Oklahoma. I think this is an absolute. I'll be honest with you. I thought that they might have fired him a year ago, to be honest, before last year, to be honest. And then, they went 6-7 again last year. I think he's 22-17 in 4 years at Oklahoma. Barely over 500.
The one thing that I am happy about, Brad, he's going to handle the defensive play calling. He made some big changes on offense. He got Arbuckle from Washington State, the offensive coordinator. He brought John Napier in to be the quarterback. Yep. Like, there's some major changes here, and I think he's doing that to ensure the fans that.
Oh, I think he knows.
he's going to get it.
I think Venables knows that if he doesn't make some real strides this year, he's probably gone.
Here's the thing, Brad. Did he do enough? Is it going to make 6 wins? You got a home date with Michigan week 2. You got to go to Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina.
Yeah.
It's still difficult to even find 7 wins on that schedule.
I know. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. I promise. But, man, I'm telling you. And here's the deal, John. I like Brent Venables. I think he's a good coach. I think he's kind of been given – Oklahoma the past 2 years has had one of those Florida schedules. It's tough as hell. They were given the toughest schedule. Texas has had one of the easier SEC schedules coming in. And I kind of think Brent Venables was given a bad hand, to be honest with you, coming into the SEC. Now, can he turn this around? This is part of how he is trying to turn this around. He did bring in John Napier. He brought in the Washington State OC with John Napier, Arbuckle.
And he also brought in Jay Knott, the running back from California. Yep. So he's brought in some pieces, and he's going to have Deion Burks. That he's going to be healthy. He was not healthy last year. I think that's going to help a little bit. The defense on their side of the ball, they wasn't a real big problem. They held some teams. I think they was 13th nationally in defense. Venables always had a defense. I mean, even in Clemson.
So let's talk about Napier and the OC here. So they know each other. He ran Arbuckle's system at Washington State and transfers in. He ought to know the system. He ought to know all the scheme. He ought to know all that. And Napier could be, John. I'm not saying he will be. But could he be one of the surprise quarterbacks in the country this year? I think he actually could be. He's one of the better quarterbacks that transferred that nobody really knows about. And I think this combo could pay off for Venables. What do you think?
I think it's possible. This is probably their worst stretch, though, Brad, since Bob Stoops was hired, okay?
Well, before Bob Stoops.
Before Bob Stoops, yes.
Yeah.
In
the late 90s.
Oklahoma is a place where football is king.
Oh, yeah.
It's a football state. It's a football school. It's around there with Texas in terms of football tradition. They're not used to losing in Norman.
But I'm going to be honest with you, John. They have put up with it longer than I thought they would. This is year 5, and he's barely over 500. They really have put up with this longer than I thought they would. Talking about this quarterback situation, he had Jackson Arnold last year, and there was some issues there. They lost complete confidence. Jackson Arnold did. You could see it on the field. They looked horrible late in the year. And
really the only good game that they really played was probably at Auburn.
Yep. Yeah, they played a good game at Auburn. Yeah.
But even Auburn had misses last year, so it's not really saying much.
Honestly, offensively, they looked bad last year. So Napier and Arbuckle coming in is going to be absolute key if Brent Venables is going to get this turned around in Sooner Nation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, let's talk about that tough schedule. We was looking at Florida's schedule. John, I believe, looking at Oklahoma's schedule, that their schedule is just as tough or maybe more tough than Florida's. What do you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
They play Michigan, right? Don't they open with Michigan?
They play Michigan, go to Tennessee. I said another one, I can't remember. But, like we said a minute ago, you got key guys coming in like John Napier, the Cal, Jay Knott, Deion Burks at wide receiver. He missed some time last. Like, there's some pieces there that they can be improved and be better. But are they really going to be improved? Like, there's the talking's over at OU. It's either time to do it or.
I mean, listen, for 20 years with Bob Stoops, 24 years or whatever it was, and Lincoln Riley, I mean, this was a 9, 10, or 11 win team every year. Every year.
I think you got to consider, the schedule, I don't know, Brent. I just think their schedule sets up tough again.
It does. They have an absolute nightmare of a schedule. If you look at their schedule and then go look at Texas' schedule, I mentioned this a few minutes ago. Coming into the SEC, I think Oklahoma kind of got shafted a little bit, to be honest with you. I think that schedule between the two teams could have been a lot more even, because what they did is they gave Texas half and Oklahoma half, and the teams are not playing both.
They do have that game with Temple. I think it's in Texas, I think. Playing Michigan, like you said, is not going to be an easy game. Then you get Ole Miss, I think, at home.
Which is not an easy game.
And I think you close with Missouri and LSU at home, which should be but here's the problem. The problem is they have to face the three biggest teams in America, and they're all on the road.
Yep.
Alabama,
that's
Tennessee,
what I'm saying.
Like, there's no break in there.
Exactly.
There's a week off, I think, between Tennessee and Alabama, and you play Kent State. The second half schedule is as brutal as I've ever seen.
It's horrendous. And it was last year. The SEC did them no favors between Oklahoma and Texas. I'm just telling you.
Here's the biggest issue, though. You lose to Michigan right out of the gate,
and things can slide downhill pretty quick.
And then lose to Texas, like the wheels on the Sooner schooner might be falling out off the wagon.
Wheels on the bus are not going round and round, I can tell you.
No, they're going off real quick.
I can tell you that. All right, a positive, okay? Oklahoma is known for their defense, player personnel here. They do have 63% of their defensive production back from last year. And John mentioned this earlier, Venables is taking over play call duties as the DC and the head coach, but he is taking over play call duties, and he's been one of the best in the country, won 3 national titles as a defensive coordinator. So, I mean, that should be a plus for this defense.
Yeah, it should. I think Venables is a good – I think Venables is a good guy. I do. I think he wants to win, but the fact is you got to put it to action, and it's just not been come to fruition yet. And, Oklahoma fans are getting weary, and I talked to a few yesterday, and they're talking make or break season. Like, it's either, do it this year or we kind of start over and kind of figure out where to go from there. But I mean, the fact that he brought in
– maybe they could hire Lincoln Riley back when he bottoms out at USC.
They probably won't want him back after the way he left. I don't think they want him back.
Maybe they can hire Lincoln Riley back.
I'll say this again on their schedule. They start out with Illinois State, okay? They play Michigan, then they play Temple, and then they play Auburn, and then they play Kent State. There's some wins in there.
There is.
But
and if they could somehow get a win in that Michigan game and be like 4 or 5-0,
where it gets dicey is when they play Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, and at Tennessee. Like, those are absolute brutal games.
Yeah.
And then they have a bye week and go to Alabama, Missouri, and LSU.
I mean, come on now. I'm telling you, the last 7 weeks of their schedule is a nightmare.
It's tough.
I'm telling you, it's Freddy Krueger.
And they're going to have to steal one of those games. And one of them, I think, could be Missouri. I don't think Missouri is going to be that great this year.
Better lock the door.
And we'll talk about Missouri tomorrow, but I don't think Missouri is going to be that great this year.
It's a nightmare, I'm telling you.
So.
Sorry, I went back to my childhood for a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
All right, this is the last topic here on Oklahoma. I asked you this last night on a couple of coaches, Hugh Freeze being one. I'm going to ask you the same thing on Brent Venables. Is 8-win threshold a must at Oklahoma in season 5 for Brent Venables?
I think 8 wins, he probably keeps his job, but anything below what the 8 is, I just don't think Oklahoma fans are going to put up.
And when you look at that schedule, I mean, Auburn won't be a cakewalk. Michigan won't be a cakewalk early. And then you look at the back half of that schedule and you're like, whoa, like I said, it's a nightmare. So 8, if they can find a way to 8 wins, it's going to be an impressive 8 wins, I think.
They're gonna in those 8 wins, they're gonna be LSU, probably Missouri. They're gonna win some games they're not supposed to.
Yeah, they have to get to that 8-win mark. Yeah. And
I think 8 wins is probably where he gets to keep his job, but anything below that, I don't think they're going to put up with it. I don't think they're going to give it another year if that's the case.
I mean, if he goes 7-5 and wins a bowl game and gets to 8 wins, and he's 8-5, do you think he stays?
I think he does. I think if that's
maybe. I think it's possible that he stays if he does that. Because, I mean, they were 6-7 last year. I think he had another season where he was 6-7. I mean, they really have not been great the last few years. I know he's had 2 losing seasons in the last 3. I know. Which is not – they're not used to that in Norman, Oklahoma. They don't have losing seasons in Norman.
They do not.
You know what I'm saying, John?
Mm-mm.
So Will, who was on with us last night, says, yes, that's an absolute must. The 8 wins. Appreciate that, Will. All right, guys, that is it. That was the 4 teams for today. Tomorrow, we'll wrap up SEC Media Days. Tomorrow night, we will be talking about Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and Texas A&M. John, give me your thoughts on those 4 teams for tomorrow.
I think the first 2 are pretty simple. I mean,
you win or else. Yeah,
you better win. You better win. You better get to a bowl game, or I think you're going out the door. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman did not have a great year last year.
Listen, Missouri has a favorable schedule.
They do.
I don't know if they can do it, but they have a favorable schedule.
I think some of the pieces that they had a year ago that they lost a lot, Missouri. But I think they're there. I think they're in the mix.
And Elko and Texas A&M might be the best team of this bunch.
I think, the defense returns a lot, and they get a lot of their edge rushers they got a lot from the portal. I think the transfer from Penn State, if he's pretty good, I think they'll be pretty good. But overall, I just think
the
they lost some pieces.
And then or whatever his name is.
You have Arkansas. I mean, you got Taylor Green coming back. He's got a lot of upside. Sam Pittman, I will give him credit. He went through the portal and done some work.
He did hit the portal pretty hard.
He did.
Improve this team.
And then you got Texas A&M. There's a lot of depth and talent there with Mike Elko, Marcel Reed. They got some really good receiving core, and they went through the portal as well. They went out and they got some guys, and hopefully Mike Elko. And I'm going to say this about Mike Elko: what an outstanding season he had a year ago. That was pretty impressive what he did at A&M in his first season. And a lot of people was kind of questioning that hire at times. He went in there and he just kind of took over and done a really good job. And then you kind of got Kentucky.
And we will dig into Mark Stoops in Kentucky a little bit tomorrow night. We will try not to go overboard, but we will kind of dig into it a little bit.
I'll say this about Kentucky before we get out here. There's way too much experience on this team to not be competitive. I'll just leave it at that. There's some experience on defense. There's some experience on offense, especially through the portal. You got Calzada. I'm telling you, if Stoops does not make a bowl game, I don't think he keeps his job, Brad.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I've said that all along. I don't either, to be honest with you. It looks like we lost John there, but I'm going to wrap up anyway. So Homefield Apparel, go to homefieldapparel.com. They have some really cool premium licensed vintage apparel. There's over 180 teams to choose from.
I think Mark Stoops cut me off just then.
Yeah. Please use our code CSCast for a 15% discount. But there's some cool retro stuff going on there, throwback mascots and uniforms. So check them out. Also want to give a shout out to the Real Fresh channel. This show is streaming on the Real Fresh channel on YouTube. We are live on the Real Fresh channel, and I appreciate Howie Fresh for doing that this week. And we are testing out a little bit on his channel. So we are streaming not only live on our channel on YouTube, but we are also streaming live on the Real Fresh channel. So check us out. He has lots of other cool stuff and shows, including pro sports shows, wrestling shows, comedy shows. So check out the Real Fresh channel and tune into Stadium Rant on YouTube. They have a large array of sports shows and content. Again, fantasy sports. They have betting parlays and betting shows. They have pro football, pro basketball. They have everything. I mean, honestly, check them out. There's probably 10 or 12 different shows, if not more, on Stadium Rant. We are proud to be a part of that and join Stadium Rant. So I want to make sure that I always give them a good shout out. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. And also go to stadiumrant.com for articles. One other thing on the Real Fresh channel, go to Bet Us. Go to bit.ly/RealFreshBetUs and use that link, and it will help out the Real Fresh channel and us, and we would appreciate that. It'll give you some betting deposits and some free money if you will do that. So I appreciate that as well. And with that, John, is there any other thing that we need to kind of go through and do?
No, not that I know of.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. This has been day 3 of our summer series, SEC Football Media Days 2025. Tomorrow night, we will wrap up SEC Football Media Days. We will have more than likely 2 guests with us tomorrow night from Stadium Rant. Nicholas and Will be here from Stadium Rant tomorrow night.
The only issue with that is
running. If we have issues, we will adjust, but more than likely, we will have 2 guests with us tomorrow night, and we will be talking about Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and Texas A&M. So until then, we will see you guys tomorrow night. We wish you well. Hope you have a good night, guys.
What I was just going to say was, Brad, is sometimes when you have 3 or 4 more people, it kind of freezes up, is all I was saying.
It does. We'll adjust if we do.
We'll have to adjust to it, so.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. We will see you tomorrow night for day 4.
Have a good one.